Texas, 1918. At the moment, there's a sickness called Spanish flu spreading in the country while World War I is happening. One day, a girl named Pearl is dancing by herself in her room when her mean mother Ruth comes in and tells her to stop playing and start doing her responsibilities. Pearl's father is paralyzed, and she has to take care of him. She goes to the barn to look after the cows and horses. While she's there, a goose comes in, and Pearl stabs it with a pitchfork. Later, she goes to the lake and gives Theta the alligator a snack. Pearl wants to leave the farm and become a star. She's married to Howard, who's fighting in the war. Pearl's mother Ruth doesn't support her dreams and wants her to stay on the farm. Pearl rides her bike to the town to get her father's medicine. Without her mother knowing, she goes to the cinema with the rest of the money left over from the medicine. Pearl chooses to go to a movie with dancers called Palace Follies, because her dream is to become one of them. Later, she meets a charming and good-looking person who works as a projectionist. She tells him some things about herself, and he gives her a small piece of the movie reel. He says that he can put it back together. Pearl starts to really like the man. As she rides her bike back home, the small piece of the movie reel falls out of her pocket and gets lost in a cornfield. Pearl tries to find it but instead finds a scarecrow. She climbs up and cuts it down, then pretends it's the projectionist by kissing it and sitting on it. She then tells it off, saying that she's married. When she returns home, her mother asks her why it took so long and where she got the hat on her head. Pearl tells him that she found the hat on the way home. Her mother scolds her and tells her not to bring the hat into the house because it might have germs. Pearl's sister-in-law Mitzi, who is rich, and her mother come to visit the farm. Mitzi's mother brings a young pig for Ruth, but she puts it outside in a rude way because she doesn't want to accept it as a gift. Mitzi tells Pearl that her church is looking for people to join a group that travels around, and Ruth thinks it could be her chance to leave the farm. Afterwards, Pearl has dinner with her parents. Ruth scolds Pearl and acts like she is not appreciative. Pearl also thinks about ending her father's life to relieve the stress for everyone. She sneaks into her mother's room and steals one of her dresses. While her mother is looking for her, Pearl goes back to the movie theater and meets the projectionist again. He shows her a movie that hasn't been released yet called A Free Ride, which is one of the first pornographic films ever made. The projectionist thinks that these types of movies will change the movie industry. Pearl talks about her hopes and dreams, but she also admits that her parents are holding her back. She accidentally says that she wishes they were dead, but then takes it back. The projectionist tells Pearl to pursue her dreams. She is determined to follow her dream and kill her father in order to leave. Pearl is about to throw her father into the water for the crocodile to eat, but is saved by her mother. While they're having dinner, Ruth takes out a brochure she found that Pearl had, which is about the auditions for the traveling group. Ruth once again dismisses Pearl's dreams, complaining about how she had to take care of her husband because he was sick. Ruth also tells Pearl that nobody will accept her because she knows Pearl has a disturbing habit of killing small animals. Pearl and Ruth have a big fight and start shouting and hitting each other. Pearl pushes Ruth and she falls into the fireplace, which causes her to catch fire. Pearl tries to put out the fire by pouring boiling water on her, and then takes Ruth to the basement, where she's barely alive. Pearl quickly goes back to the theater and goes to sleep next to the projectionist. The day after, Pearl is getting ready for her audition. The projectionist takes her home and sees the messy kitchen and Pearl's father sitting by himself. He hears a noise, which is Ruth in the basement, but Pearl tells him it's just her dog. Pearl takes the projectionist to the back of the barn and admits that she doesn't actually have a dog. The projectionist starts to feel uneasy and says he has to leave politely. But Pearl gets angry and thinks he doesn't want to take her away from the farm. When the projectionist tries to leave, Pearl stabs him twice with a pitchfork, causing his car to fall into the lake where Theta eats him. Pearl then pushes Ruth down the stairs and tries to suffocate her father with a blanket. Pearl puts on a red dress and goes with Mitzi to the audition. They see a girl crying because she didn't get selected. Pearl performs her own dance routine, which takes place in a war like a play. When she's finished, the judges reject her. Pearl imagines that the judges are her parents, the projectionist, and Howard. She asks for another chance, and says that she has what it takes, but one of the judges tells her that they're looking for someone younger, blonde, and with a special quality called X Factor. Pearl starts to cry and scream loudly outside until Mitzi comes to comfort her. Mitzi takes Pearl home and sees the pig outside being eaten by maggots. They sit in the kitchen, and Mitzi tries to calm Pearl by having her talk as if she's talking to Howard. Pearl delivers a speech where she expresses her anger towards Howard for leaving for the war. She talks about her affair with the projectionist and confesses to killing her parents and him, but she says she feels bad about killing her father. After Pearl finishes her speech, Mitzi starts to leave, and Pearl tries to congratulate her for getting the part. Mitzi denies getting the part, but Pearl doesn't believe her. Mitzi then admits that she lied to get away from Pearl. As Mitzi starts to leave, Pearl follows her and grabs an axe. Mitzi tries to run and call for help, but Pearl kills her with the axe. Pearl cuts Mitzi's body into pieces and gives them to Theta to eat. Then she goes to the basement where Ruth was crawling up the stairs before she died. Pearl imagines Ruth looking good and saying she loves Pearl, which is what she always wanted to hear. After that, Pearl sets up her deceased parents at the dining table, together with the rotting pig, and acts like they are having a meal together. Howard comes back from the war and enters the house. He sees the terrifying scene that Pearl has set up. Pearl then comes out to greet Howard and pretends to be happy. She then puts on a fake smile that looks painful and holds it until the credits roll, all the while crying. If you want to find out what will happen to Pearl in 61 years, you have to watch the X movie recap.